This is CBC Winnipeg News.
This is a look at the massive wildfire burning between Flin Flon and Cranberry Portage from above. Premier Wab Kinew got a first-hand look at the destruction and the firefighting efforts in northern Manitoba this afternoon. This as crews try and contain a wildfire that has forced 550 people from their homes. Thank you for being with us tonight. The Premier spoke following his tour this afternoon. We'll bring you some of what he had to say in the pod just ahead. But first, CBC's Brittany Greenslade brings us more from the ground of the fire zone.
This is the first look at damage we're getting since a wildfire was raging near Cranberry Portage. You can see the trees have been incinerated. The ground is scorched. Well, in the distance, the smoke continues to billow from the fire. Crews continue to fight. Hydro poles are charred and snapped. Power lines are down and outages continue as far north to Flin Flon. Fire crews work to control and contain the fire and smoke. Well, evacuees like Heather Murray are having a hard time holding back tears.
It's been very stressful. I have a son who's in a wheelchair, special needs, all one-on-one, and I've had to put him in the hospital.
Murray says she's already been struggling.
It takes a lot for me to ask for help or even get help. So to come here and see food, needing food.
Oh yeah, you can really see the flames now.
Aerial shots show how widespread and far-reaching the fire has been, burning roughly 32,000 hectares in size. Manitoba hydro teams are working to replace dozens of damaged poles and lines and keep finding more that need work. The province says the fire has crossed a section of railway in the area and is impacting rail travel between Cranberry Portage and Puckatawagan. We're here on Highway 10 outside Cranberry Portage. Now, the smoke just north of us is still very bad, so RCMP have come up with a pilot car system. Instead of having to close down this road completely to vehicles, they will take cars in a line all the way through to Flin Flon without stopping.
And we found out late last night, well, about 8 o'clock, that they're escorting people through, and that brought the anxiety from here down to here.
People in the PA are doing what they can to help. While people are thankful, they say they're stressed and tired. Right now, the biggest question that remains, when people will be able to go home. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, near Cranberry Portage.
This is some video that has just finished feeding into our newsroom here. The Premier meeting with some of the evacuees and other officials in the PA late this afternoon. He did speak with reporters as well afterward, addressing concerns that some evacuees are having to foot some of their own bills.
Already today in Flin Flon and then here in the PA, we've been hearing concerns that people have. And so in the time that we've been able to get on cell phone service, which was not the whole day, we're actioning a response and making sure that people get the support that they need. In a situation like this, the concern is always whether some folks fall through the cracks. We don't want to see that happen. Full credit to the folks in the PA, to the MMF, to other folks who stepped up throughout the region. Manitobans are stepping up to be there for their neighbours.
Kinew also says firefighters from Ontario arrived today and some from Quebec are on the way. Well, it's that time of the year when summer camps are putting together the finishing touches for the season ahead. But now a lot of camp organizers are scrambling because they did not get the provincial money they were expecting. For more, CBC's Ian Fraze is live in our newsroom tonight. Ian, why are some of the camps in our province worried?
Well, they may have to cut staff, programs, or both. Every year, Manitoba distributes grants through the Green Team program. A lot of summer camps have come to expect that money. But this year, some camps got less money or nothing at all. Earlier today, the Progressive Conservatives said this is all concerning.
Our constituency offices have been fielding calls from a number of the camp organizers. They plan earlier in the year to hire these youths for jobs for the summer. And without any notification from the government, they were denied their Green Team applications. A number of them. So it's kind of concerning for them as what they're going to do.
The government explained there just wasn't enough money to go around.
We've had over 800 plus applications for the Green Team program, so it's a significant intake that we've had, a record amount, if you will, and there's been a lot of decisions that needed to come down in terms of the approval process, so we've been going through that process.
The minister says he's in talks with the Manitoba Camping Association about possible solutions, but he wouldn't make any promises today. Riley.
Thanks, Ian. CBC's Ian Frace in the newsroom. It's been 5 days since people were forced out of their homes at Birchwood Terrace. The city ordered the St. James apartment building evacuated because of serious structural issues. And as CBC's Emily Brass reports, some are angry the owner didn't warn them sooner.
Melly Carrier and her daughter Cheyenne are on the hunt for a new apartment.
We have nothing to put in it but ourselves and our pets and a few clothes, but at least it's a start.
They said everyone has to have everything out by 8 a.m.
Carrier is one of roughly 250 people who lived at Birchwood Terrace. Tenants got notice Thursday night. They had to leave immediately. Engineers uncovered corrosion on multiple columns in the underground parkade, prompting fears the building could collapse. Carrier and her daughter weren't home. A relative saw it on Facebook and gave them a call.
And all I heard was my mom go, "But our pets. Will they let us in? Our pets?"
They're now staying with family. 5 people, 6 pets, and an aquarium, all packed into one apartment.
I feel like this shouldn't be happening in today's society with our technology. They should have known way in advance, and they should have protected us as their residents.
Carrier noticed work being done over the past 6 weeks. She's angry the owner, Ladco Company, didn't warn them of the danger.
At one point, we got a memo saying they apologized for the noise and that for the work that they were doing, but never told us what the work was.
Ladco declined our request for an interview today, but in a text said, "We don't have any updates and our efforts are focused on our displaced tenants and bringing these apartments back online." It also says it plans to reach out directly to residents in the coming days. The building's now fenced off, abandoned belongings, an eerie reminder of the sudden evacuation. The city says it's working with the Red Cross to provide more than 130 people with food and lodging. It says the future of the building is up to Ladco. Tenants' leases are now null and void, and Carrier says that means her insurance won't cover possessions left behind much longer.
It's unimaginable. Not having a home, you don't realize how much your belongings mean to you until they're taken away.
They're hoping to rent a new place, but won't rent from Ladco. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A parking lot in the Exchange District of Winnipeg could become a new apartment building. Kenneth Zafman owns the historic St. Charles Hotel and the adjacent parking lot. He says he's shifting his attention from redeveloping the hotel to focusing on a new 120-unit apartment building beside it on Albert Street.
Well, we're turning a parking lot into a multifamily unit. It should attract more people, more activity, enhance the viability and vibrancy of the Exchange District, which is, what everyone wants to see.
Zafman says he has submitted plans to the city and is waiting for approval. If approved, he hopes to begin construction later on this year. Library advocates are urging the City of Winnipeg to dedicate more funding in order to move forward with needed repairs. CBC intern reporter Nadia Nickpour-Bader has more.
You may need an umbrella along with a library card for your next visit at Fort Garry Public Library. A large chunk of the ceiling is missing in the children's section due to a leak, and a second sprang up over the computer lab.
It's so emblematic of the neglect that the city is comfortable with.
Library advocate Joe Curnow has been pushing for Winnipeg to increase its library funding. Compared to Edmonton, Hamilton, and Regina, Winnipeg spends the least amount of money on books, programs, and staff. This, on top of slow repair progress, is frustrating for longtime library user Allison Mercer.
Personally feel that the city doesn't prioritize libraries in the way that they should.
The roof leaks have been ongoing for 2 years with no plans to fix them. But the area city councillor Sherry Rollins says that repairs are an ongoing project, comparing the maintenance to that of a house or car.
Some things are super urgent, and some things we wait and we get, the proper estimates, and we have to investigate a bit.
Mercer says libraries are a worthy investment.
Libraries are one of the few public indoor spaces where you can attend for free. There's no expectation that you spend money.
Free indoor spaces are especially welcomed during rain showers.
I mean, it's nice to not get wet.
Despite drips from its leaky roof, library staff and patrons continue to make the most out of a rainy day. Nadia Nickpour-Bader, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The city of Winnipeg wants to grant historic status to a very famous foot. The boy with the boot, is a bronze statue at the entrance to the English Garden in Assiniboine Park. The statue was commissioned by the city in 1897. It has since been moved several times. The statue has also been repeatedly vandalized and was even stolen back in the 90s. It was returned after a few months. A bit of a wet day here in Winnipeg and across southern Manitoba today. Don't have to tell you that if you stepped outside at any point today. But was not wet everywhere. Ethan Williams is tracking our forecast tonight.
Well, thanks, Riley. And still seeing dry conditions today across much of northern Manitoba, especially where firefighting efforts are still going on near the Flin Flon area. But for those of us in Winnipeg and the Red River Valley, definitely a cool, showery spring day today as we see that band of showers moving through over the last few hours now, beginning to move out, but still seeing quite a bit of cloud cover in behind that. Temperatures, as a result, staying back well below seasonal for this time of year. We should be up around 20 degrees, and we are only around 10 for daytime highs today for Winnipeg and Brandon and Dauphin. The warmer temperatures, of course, up north where we have a little bit more of that sunshine into the teens, a bit closer to seasonal. And of course, with those fires still burning, we do have those air quality advisories still in effect for the Flin Flon and the Paw regions. That has actually been extended northward now into the Puckatawagan and Lynn Lake areas too, as the air quality health index remains quite high in that part of the province. Smoke likely going to stay in northern Manitoba and kind of isolated around the fire zone over these next few days, but then winds shift to coming from the north, and that will push smoke a little bit further south, perhaps as far south as the parklands as we get into a little bit later into the week here. In terms of the rain, though, I think unsettled is definitely going to be the word that we can use to describe our forecast, because another round of showers with this low pressure system moves into Winnipeg and southeastern Manitoba tomorrow morning, likely lasting into the first part of the afternoon at least. That begins to move out. We see some clearing, but this cold front brings through a line of showers finally to northern sections. Could, though, be some embedded thunderstorms in there, so we'll have to watch for lightning. Then this next frontal boundary begins to move in and bring some rain through for Thursday afternoon. So going to be kind of hit and miss, and it's going to depend on where the thunderstorms pop up here, but generally up to 10 millimeters in Winnipeg and southeastern Manitoba. The Parkland region about that as much as well, and then through the inner lake could see pockets of 15 millimeters or so. Wind's going to pick up a bit tonight in Winnipeg and the Red River Valley, and then we'll see those pick up again along the Hudson Bay coast as we get through these next couple of days. Could be some gusts in the Churchill area, 60 gusting 70 or so. Your Winnipeg day planner looking like this. Still some rain showers tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Winds remaining fairly light. We're not going to change much temperature-wise here, especially into tomorrow morning. Some lingering showers by the noon hour, but then by 4 o'clock, just cloudy skies, most of that rain done, and maybe, just maybe some breaks of sun for the rest of the afternoon and possibly early evening hours. I'll have a full look at your 7-day forecast, Riley, coming up.
Thanks, Ethan. Well, as our climate warms and changes, there's the potential for longer growing seasons here in Manitoba. That has the types of plants and growing patterns changing in tandem with the climate. Experts say that could transform how people approach gardening in the province.
Quite small, but you can grow a lot in one. We're a little behind. Usually I've got the outsides tilled for the simple reason it's been too wet. Springs are usually about the same. During the summer, we do get hotter, which would make such a difference with our water we have here.
Everybody knows that there's a climate change is going on, and we see all around the world, national and international news that there's something happening. The way the climate is changing, same pace we have to change. We cannot go randomly, we cannot go haphazardly. There should be a good for how we are shifting our crops within our cropping system according to our climate zone.
We're zone 3, and zone 3 in general is pretty hardy plants. What we're finding now is some of the zone 4s, or we maybe can make it fit here in our climate because we are gradually getting warmer every year.
The impact is coming now. So they need to figure out their and schedule their cropping system. We have to make some concrete decisions right now, how to combat and make a strategical planning.
Here we've started using more mulch and whatnot to hold moisture in the summertime because it dries out. But if you put some mulch down, you can keep that water because if not, everything wilts out in the heat.
The changes coming from the climate is compelling us to do that, because then we have to come to a resilient agriculture or a resilient horticulture.
Still ahead tonight, DNA lab tests for the unknown victim of a Winnipeg serial killer found no matches. The latest on the trial and how difficult this case has been for families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Next.
Huh. Oh my goodness. If you look at how history has shown these sorts of things, it starts off free and then at some point you get to be charged. So we will have to see. The markets, how are the numbers today? Reed Southwick, take good care. Talk to you tomorrow. Reed Southwick from the CBC National Business Desk. 12 minutes before the top of the hour, 12 and a half minutes before the top of the hour here on Up to Speed on CBC Radio 1. This past weekend on CBC's Just Asking, they discussed consumer power and the boycott against Loblaw companies. With high grocery prices and corporate profit, how can shoppers put pressure on the big retailers? David Soberman is a professor of marketing at the University of Toronto. Here's some of the discussion with host Saroja Coelho.
An update now on the trial for a confessed serial killer. CBC News has learned through the court proceedings that he pronounces his name Jeremy Skabitsky, not Skabicki. So we'll be using that correct pronunciation going forward. Today at the trial, a forensic DNA specialist told court that investigators sent more than 100 exhibits from Skabitsky's apartment for testing. But not one helped identify the lone unknown victim who was given the name Mushkade Bishake Ikweban. Investigators found a shred of DNA on the cuff of a jacket that Skabitsky said belonged to the woman. They continued trying to identify the woman until February of this year. Skabitsky was charged in 2022 with first-degree murder in the deaths of 4 women. His defense team plans to argue that he is not criminally responsible. Information Radio's Marcy Marcusa spoke this morning with Anna Huard, a committee member of the MMIWG 2S Plus Implementation Advisory Committee. She tells us how difficult the case has been for families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
What type of cultural care do these families need, and what kinds of things have been helping people?
It sparked a lot of gatherings, vigils, rallies even. It's quite unfortunate that we have to gather like this, but community is really coming together and holding each other up, which is bittersweet.
What are you hearing specifically from Indigenous communities about how they're coping in a wider way? And also, of course, each individual is going to be different. Each family is going to be different. Some may want, the need for privacy. So what's it been like to figure out, how to reach out and then where to give space?
We listen a lot to the families and communities. So, for example, we were asked to help organize a vigil prior to the case with the Myron family. And so we're really guided by community and family, and just ensuring that they're uplifted in times of need, and of course giving space when we can.
What's the role of the larger community in rallying around the families in an appropriate way?
I think just the biggest thing, my biggest suggestion is show up. Show up for rallies, show up for vigils. Repost on social media and educate your family and friends, like really get that good grasp on the impacts of colonial violence and sort of that bigger picture. Show up to the camps, Camp Morgan, Camp Mercedes, bring supplies, propane, wood, food and canned goods. And then on a kind of bigger scale, please donate to initiatives that support missing and murdered families.
Still ahead, yes, you might want to take the umbrella if you're heading out early tomorrow morning. We are expecting that rain to continue as we head through into the early morning tomorrow. Ethan's got our 7-day forecast after the break.
Stomachfield with the tune called Available. We're at 4 minutes before 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1. Josh Crabb joining us now with a look at news headlines. Good evening. All right, thanks very much. You're welcome. It's Josh Crabb from your CBC Winnipeg local news desk. Chloe Friesen has been following the good news, bad news, bad news.
Well, I think tomorrow is going to be a good day to do what Buddy is doing here and just stay in bed. If you want to take the dog for a walk, it's going to be a bit of a wet one in Winnipeg as we're seeing temperatures only kind of between 10 and 15 degrees and a bit of a repeat scenario today with the rain. And maybe another 5 millimeters possible tomorrow before that tapers off as we get into the later afternoon hours tomorrow. Chance of some thunderstorms Thursday as a frontal system moves through. And then Friday, we finally see some clearing skies. Nice temperature around seasonal for this time of year. Some possible showers again for Saturday before things clear out more substantially for the end of the weekend. And we see temperatures sitting not too bad for this time of year, Riley, just below seasonal.
All right. Thanks, Ethan. Well, construction season is upon us, for better or worse, and that means our driving etiquette may soon be put to the test. With lane closures and zipper merges popping up already, we hit the streets to ask drivers how important is it to wave when someone lets you in. That's tonight's Daily Lift.
Well, I come from Brandon, and we had a zipper merge out there during construction. Yes, there's polite people that wave, and then there's also people that, if they get boxed out, they wave with one finger. So there's a little bit of rudeness going on too, but yeah, it doesn't seem like maybe there's a misunderstanding with how it works for some people. But yeah, I think when you let people in, there's polite people out there that are waving.
Oh, it's the most important. All I do is wave at anybody who lets me into anything. Honestly, the wave is essential. I get mad when people don't wave.
I think very, very important, because I'd like to know that people are acknowledging my patience and doing something for them, for sure. I always wave.
It's not absolutely necessary to wave, but it's always a courteous, just respectful thing to do.
I'm just trying to swerve to miss the potholes, so I'm not I'm not worried about if someone's upset or what. It doesn't bother me.
10 on 10, and it will change my mood completely if I don't get a wave. As long as I've been driving, 75% of the time I get that wave. So it's been consistent for as long as I've been driving for, I would say. I don't think we're losing the culture.
I think it's just a common courtesy thing. I mean, we're supposed to be friendly Manitoba. I think generally here we have the small town vibe. We're not a big city like Toronto or Vancouver. We don't really have the right to be all, disrespectful about the road. So yeah, the wave's essential, has to happen. That's my position on it.
See, I try wave. Doesn't always happen, and I'm really sorry, because I'm always just trying to figure out where I'm going. Not always successfully either. We're here for an hour at 6 tomorrow. See you. Bye.